Hey guys, this is Arcanite from ElitistJerks.com. I'm going to make a video that kind of explains a lot of the differences between Elder Scrolls Online and World of Warcraft. Most of our members are World of Warcraft players or ex-World of Warcraft players, so I thought this video would extra appeal to them and explain the game. So, the very first thing you're going to notice, obviously, is the graphics. It's a much more mature, fantasy-style graphic system that kind of looks a lot like Skyrim. I wouldn't say they're worse or better than WoW, just a different style, so it's really hard to kind of compare apples and oranges here. The next thing you're going to notice is, instead of a mouse, I actually just have this reticle in the center of my screen. I can't actually move my mouse over the skill bars at the bottom, which means that people are going to actually have enough skill to hit the buttons and perform action. I have, of course, the Razer Naga, so I am just in love with my ability to push buttons with my thumb. So one of the first things I want to talk about is how the server structure actually works in this game. So in most MMOs, what happens is you choose a realm when you create a character, and you're stuck with that realm. So if people, especially in the middle of the night, when you play in the middle of the night, the realm's super quiet. It's really hard to play Graveyard World of Warcraft without, special realm where it's popular, and get raids and groups and stuff. And that's not really the case in this game. This game uses what ZeniMax calls mega server technology, and what that basically does is, instead of everybody running on different realms, so that, when you meet your buddy who also plays this game, you're like, oh, we're on different realms, we can't play each other. That's not how it works. Instead, there's one server that creates instances of every zone and mashes people in there until there's a good population. So once this zone that I'm in here fills up and becomes too crowded, it creates a new one and sticks people in that zone. So no matter what time of day you're playing, or where you're playing, or who you're playing with, there will always be plenty of people to play with and group with and find instances. During beta weekends, I found groups as late as 5 a.m. just popping because, the only people that are going to be in my zone will always be populated with people. And it does a pretty good job of not overpopulating, if that's one of your concerns. It seems to strike a really good balance between the two. And that's huge for me, because it's always irritating when you play an MMO and you meet people and you can't play with your buddies or talk with your buddies because they're on a different realm. It's very frustrating. This way, that problem is completely solved. And it also means that you don't have to worry about picking the wrong realm or server transfers or organizing your guilds to pick which realm to pop on. Just hop on the game and start playing right away. The next biggest thing that's really awesome that I absolutely love that comes from this is how guilds work. So in a lot of MMOs, I get kind of frustrated because my friends aren't really good at MMOs. They're not good raiders, but they're my friends, and I want to chat and talk with them and kind of have a group with them, share banks and stuff with them. So that's not actually a problem in this game. In this game, you can actually be a member of several guilds. So right now, I'm just a member of 2, Elitist Jerks and the Exceptional Legion, and I can go ahead and create a couple more if I feel like it. And what this allows me to do is to be in one guild where I raid and have the people I raid with, and then to be in a second guild where I have all my friends and buddies with, and then they can all be off on different raiding guilds or whatever, and we can share different guild banks and guild stores amongst them. And then if I wanted to, let's say my girlfriend played as well, I can make a third guild that's literally just me and her, so that we can have a guild bank to share amongst ourselves. It's a really kind of unique thing, and guilds are account based, so guilds are not restricted by the factions in this game. There's 3 factions, and each guild will sign how their faction acts in PvP. So when you go to PvP, you'll have to choose which of the guilds you're fighting for that day. And it's just really great. It's non-restrictive. It's really awesome that everybody can just be in multiple guilds and really talk to people. Now, so while I'm in these menus, I'll kind of talk about the UI is really clunky right now. To be fair, it's still beta, and there are going to be add-ons for this, so I expect a lot of this stuff to clean up and look pretty nice as the game evolves. So back to the game mechanics. So because I have a reticle here, I actually have to look. So let's go fight the zombie over here. Now, in WoW, I would target the guy kind of like that. There's actually no targeting. That's just kind of like a priority thing. So you know which guy you're looking for. Those white triangles are not actually targeting. And the reason for this is I actually have to look at my target and aim at them to shoot. So if I shoot my bow, as long as kind of like see the red glow around him, then I'll hit him. So I mean, you can hit the guy in a pretty good range. So you don't need like super skills with bows or magic spells, but you do gotta generally look towards the guy. This also means that it's possible to miss if you actually are not aiming in the right place when it happens. So if you walk through your target and swing, you'll miss. So it's not like WoW where every single hit will just go on this target, and it's also not like WoW where my guy is just swinging his sword and I spam skills. Instead, I actually have to be an active participant of the battle. So we'll watch this zombie. I'm going to use a super attack against me here. Like, see that? The stars. So by blocking that, I get a bonus in stunning him and can then really damage him really well. You can also actively dodge. You can jump backwards. You can dodge in any direction. So setting the dodge can be a pain because you actually, it can be a threshold. I have it set as a button somewhere. Oh, it's I have set. Maybe I did not bind it after all. But dodging is really important, especially as you get into later in the games. During boss fights or dungeons, you have to be able to learn how to dodge these things. You have to be able to learn to right click the block. Otherwise, you're going to get killed and your party's not going to like you. The very first dungeon, Spindle Clutch, or Clunch, I don't actually know what it's called, up here, has that problem where the final boss creates this giant aura radiating out of her, and you have to dodge it, basically, because if you're in it when it activates, you're dead. And dungeons are built on 4 players, so action is far more important. So see how I block this girl? That means I can actually just get away with holding my mouse button down and doing a super attack against her. That she can't do anything about it because she's done. So, I'm kind of like a paladin Templar here. I got combat and heals and bubbles going on. So, next I guess I'll talk about skills. Oh, well, actually, let me show you about loot. There's no tagging or targeting in NPCs. So let's say Bob and Tom, Dick, and Harry were all fighting over next to me. We don't actually have to be in a party. As long as we're all doing combat against these, they'll drop loot for each of us individually. So we don't have to fight over loot or any of that kind of stuff. Everybody gets their loot. And bosses work the same way. Everybody gets a loot off the boss. And, there's going to be different random loot off of that boss. Now, obviously, raids can then take the best of the loot and divide it up amongst the participants to make it a little bit more fair. But in 4-man dungeons and such, it's not as important of a thing. Oh, I thought this was an Argonian. This is a guy wearing Argonian style clothes. So I'm actually wearing Khajiit armor that I crafted myself. So you can craft your armor in many of the different styles. So I made Khajiit heavy armor. That guy's wearing Argonian style medium armor. It's really kind of cool. So first character, whenever you level up here, I have an attribute point. You actually decide which of these 3 stats you want to increase, just like in Skyrim. They'll automatically increase as you level up anyways, but obviously you'll see I have more points in stamina and health, so these are my 2 highest priorities where my magic is lower. But I could increase my magic to 400 if I wanted, but I'm going to actually put it in stamina. Zombie. See that red? I gotta get out of that. He's gonna spit all this poison on me. I really like combat because it's actually active. You're participating. I'm not just spamming like a macro to kill things off. I mean, you could at some levels. So this brings us to the skill system. This is the biggest thing here. The skills work. There's basically millions of skills. There's 4 classes in the game. There's a Templar, there's a shadowy rogue character I forget the name of, there's a Sorcerer, which is mages, a Death Knight, and the Templar. And the Death Knight's more of a classic warrior tank combinations of classes, and the Templar has 3 separate ones. This is what I'm showing you right now. I have kind of magical paladin beating spells. I got flat out just shooting fireballs at people, and then I have heals. So these three things, and there's nothing to stop you from being in any of these and actually powering them all up as you want. As you use the skills, you'll actually level up the skill. So what determines whether or not you can unlock these skills is going to be how often you use them. So as you see, I was using this biting jabs a bunch here. My skill and spear has gone up to 12. This will level up slowly because actually I have one skill. If I bought this and used both of these, then it would level up twice as fast because I'm using 2 skills. So I'll be able to unlock, say, Sun Shield faster. And this is just my class skills here. So you also have passive skills in each tree that, like, this increases my crit chance to heal people. Other focus heal-based spells. This is going to increase how much damage my Sun spear abilities do. So another unrestriction is you can wear or equip any type of weapon in the game. You could be a two-handed sword-wearing mage. You could be a one-handed shield mage. You could be a dual-wielding warrior. You can be a hunter with a bow, because you actually get different skills based on how often you use that. So I have a two-handed weapon here. I use my cleave and kind of that charge you've seen me use. And I also have a taunt and stuff that I've been, because I have, I put on a sword and board and go tank in some instances. So when you get skill points here, you can actually change how your skills work. So here I have Puncture, it does 62 damage and reduces their armor for a while. If I choose Ransack, which this will cost me skill point to upgrade it, then what happens, and it's good to do this anyways because then the new level will level up as well and get stronger. So if I choose this version, I'll actually increase my own armor by the amount of armor that I reduced my target to by, which is huge for tanking. So I really like this. If I knock that with the boss, my armor will shoot up and help me fight. This will also reduce their spell resistance by the same amount as, or by 40% as their armor. So this is probably cool for more of the groups that aren't running like serious dungeons and stuff, or and it can come in extremely handy if you have a lot of mages in your group, and you have a magic resistant boss, for example, and it even is pretty amazing for me because I can pierce their armor with this and then use my spear type physical abilities to do super damage, because those are both spells and physical damage, and I'll reduce both, getting a lot more damage too. So it's really kind of the coolest thing to do. And that's called morphing. So you do that when you reach a level 4. So even if people have these same 5 skills here, they're going to be different more than likely from each other because they're each going to pick a different morph, and you don't have to morph it as well. One thing that's really cool, like you actually have stamina and magic in this game. So if I use this skill, that's a spell. And I have a cleave that uses stamina, which is the green bar over there. So I actually have both so that I can take advantage of using both without running out of a resource, so I can get a lot more attacks off them. Whereas if I was just one or the other, I would be limited until my resource would run out. But at the same time, I could pour all my stat points into that single resource and it would run out less. And especially with some skills like racial passives have a lot to do with reducing stamina and stuff. So on my mage character, I have pure mage type spells that shoot fireballs and such, but instead of wearing a destruction staff, which gives me more offensive spells, I actually have a bow. And this means when I run out of mana, I can then use my stamina to shoot all kinds of additional damaging skills. So you can really balance and create your own characters very uniquely. I really, really enjoy it. The same goes for armor. Armor, you'll get the choice of what armor you want to be. I mean, you could be a heavy armored mage and have lots of armor, but in general, like, mages are going to want to pick light armor because it's going to reduce the cost of their spells when they wear it. Rogues and damage dealers are going to want to increase their crit chance with medium armor, and more tanks are going to want to increase their armor. There's nothing stopping you from using the other one. It's kind of just more of a natural decision with the armor. So not only do you get all those skills to pick from, you also get skills from, and you can switch too. So like you see, I totally have multiple. I could go pick up a bow right now, start off with just crappy skills, shoot my bow, unlock poison arrow, and keep leveling this on up. So you also get the world skills, which are based on your progress in the global quest line. Then you have, as you join NPC guilds, so not player guilds, but actual just like questline guilds in the game, the characters of the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, and the Undaunted will teach you special skills. So if I were to level up my Fighters Guild affinity, I could unlock Circle of Protection, and really kind of change out my skills there as well. You also get skills based on your participation in PvP, whether you want to be kind of more of an attacker or a defender. Then your racial skills, which aren't as important as they may seem at first, because most of the time, like only 2 or 3 of these are going to be useful for any particular class combination build that you make. But it's still kind of nice, and you're not really like you don't feel like, oh, well, I'm this class, so I have to pick this race because it has the best bonuses. Not really, because you could spend no points in your racials, and instead put the points in other skills such as your armor or your weapon or your core classes. So your race doesn't actually hold you back at all. The only one that you get by default is kind of increases experience gain, which helps level up that particular skill line, but definitely isn't that much of a detriment if you don't have it. And then there's tons of crafting skills, so that like my blacksmithing, I actually have to spend skill points if I want to increase my metalworking. That's because every character can participate in every type of crafting, so to make it so you specialize in them by spending your skill points makes sense. But you can also have an alt that, like my alt is a Dawn's Wrath character, so she actually just has these 5 skills, that's it. And then the rest of her skill points go into just these things here. All your characters on the same server will share a bank, so like my main here can go and pick up wood and herbalist materials, flowers and such, drop them in my bank, and then my alt character can go and turn them into items. And you don't even need to go to the bank to actually craft. You just go right to the crafting center and do it. It'll pull the materials out of your bank as you use them, so it's really handy that you don't have to do that. And I really like the jack of all trades kind of things. So your skills, though, are limited to these 5 skills and an ultimate ability. And the way that is you can switch at level 15, you hit a button and you'll switch your weapon to something else. It could be the same weapon, or I mean, like a same style weapon, or completely different. And your whole 5 lineup here will change, so you'll have 2 different things to switch between. So while you can have all these different skills, you're really at any one time, without switching in between battles, you can only have a setup of 5 and 1 ultimate. And what that means is, despite that there's hundreds of skills to choose from, there's just so many possible combinations that you could have 100 Templars and none of them will be exactly the same. They're all going to be completely unique. So your character is yours to play with, and you can respect these at certain levels. So that if you make a mistake as you're leveling up, or realize that you didn't like this or something, you can change that. It's a very unique system. I really like it. You're completely free to do whatever the heck you want. The other thing, the ultimate ability is doesn't require resources. So here you see me using mana, the blue bar, and stamina, the green bar. Works where I see the little bar icon on the bottom. So that fills up as I perform the combat. Classic way to increase that. And the cost of doing it now, I think each ultimate you choose from. And I'll show you as soon as it gets full here how it works. So once it's full, you can activate it. It costs no resources. You can be completely out of mana and stamina and still activate it. Fire. So, it's healing on this actually heal this. Alright, I'm gonna activate now. See if I can. There we go. So my ultimate is just heal the crap out of everybody in a huge radius. So that's how the ultimate works. As you perform in combat, you fill it up. As you can see there, I'm like, fill up, so that I could heal myself. I've really enjoyed my Mage's ultimate. It creates a fireball that just destroys everything around it, which reminds me of some other things. Some skills have things called synergies, which create items in the battlefield that other people can click on to trigger special effects and spells. So like the fireball one generates this fireball, and if you click it, it does all kinds of bonus damage to everybody around. So it's very cool. I guess that kind of covers most of the differences. I mean, I'm sure there's some I'm missing here, but I don't want this video to be an hour long. If you guys want to come talk about ESO, please join us at elitistjerks.com. Scroll down. There's an ESO forum there that we're working on. Come chat with us. We personally believe this is going to be a really fantastic game. There's plenty of room to talk about different guides and class combination setups. This game's not going to require you to be like, if you're a mage, you have to have this skill line. It doesn't work that way. Instead, you can be whatever you want as long as you have the skill to get out of the fire and actually participate as a team member. You'll do fine in this game. But there's going to be obviously tons of discussion of, well, I like this synergy and I like this, and Elitist Jerks is kind of a perfect place to do that. So feel free to come join us there. And leave any comments if I've missed out on anything. I plan to make a couple more videos on like how to do some crafting and other things. And feel free to ask for any requests. And good luck on your adventures in Tamriel.